So I was just going on my computer when I saw an article about a show called Gunsmoke and like why it had to end or whatever. And then when I dived into it, I learned that Gunsmoke has been on TV for a very long time. How long? You're probably asking, how long has Gunsmoke been on TV? I'm glad you asked. 20 seasons and some TV films. This show started in 1956 and it only ended in 1994 if we count the TV films. But the show ended in 1975. Let me give you some perspective about this. Circus Boy also started in 1956 like Gunsmoke, but Circus Boy ended in 1957. So while Gunsmoke literally had their second season while Circus Boy had the second season at the same time. They both had their second seasons and their first seasons in the same year. Same years, basically. Gunsmoke's first season was September 10th, 1955, but it lasted in 1956. And Circus Boy ran from 1956 to 1957, but it also had some reruns from 1958 to 1960, while Gunsmoke was literally still airing! To quote the guy from Talking Heads, you may be asking yourself, how did I get here?
You may ask yourself,
how did I get this disease?
You may ask yourself,
what are my treatment options?
And you may ask yourself,
how will this affect my loved ones?
And you may say to yourself,
you may be entitled to financial compensation.
What started out as a radio series and then a TV series turned into something far more. For what was once a radio series became something memorable that would last a very long time. Last longer than me. Damn, I wasn't even born when this shit was airing. My parents weren't even born when this shit was airing. Wait a minute, hold on a minute. Just check something. Just check something. Yeah, my mama, she wasn't even born yet, man. Unless she was born when they were filming one of the TV films. I'll check that later, that's besides the point. In today's video, we're talking about Gunsmoke, and hopefully this video won't be too long. I don't intend on making it too long. My two other videos that are coming up are going to be very long, but I'm saving those for if I hit 700 or 800. It all depends. So Gunsmoke first started off as a radio series from 1952 to 1961. No one I know was born back then, so I can't ask them what it was like to listen to it. None of the monkeys were even born back then. Excuse me for a minute. Son of a... Anyways, in late 1940s, CBS chairman William S. Paley, a fan of the Philip Marlowe radio series, asked his programming chief, Hubble Robinson, to develop a hardcore Western series about a Philip Marlowe of the Old West. Robinson delegated this to his West Coast CBS Vice President Harry Ackerman, who had developed the Philip Marlowe series. Ackerman and his scriptwriters, Mort Fine and David Friedkin, interesting last name, created an audition script called Mark Dillon Goes to Gouge Eye, based on one of their Michael Shane radio scripts, The Case of the Crooked Wheel, from mid-1948. Two versions were recorded. The first was recorded in June of 1949, and it was very much like a hardcore detective series, and starred Michael Rye, credited as Rye Billsbury as Dillon. The second one was recorded in 1949 in July, and it starred Straight Arrow actor Howard Clover in a more Western, lighter version of the same script. CBS liked the Howard Clover version better, and Ackerman was told to proceed. A complication arose when Clover's contract as the star of Straight Arrow would not allow him to do another Western series, so the project was suspended for 3 years when producer Norman MacDonald, I don't know why I say McDonald, and writer John Metzton discovered it while creating an adult Western series of their own. They wanted to create a radio Western for adults, in contrast to the prevailing juvenile fare like The Lone Ranger and Cisco Kid. Gunsmoke was set in Dodge City, Kansas, during the thriving cattle days of the 1870s. Dunning notes, the show drew critical acclaim for unprecedented realism. So now let's talk about our cowboy of the series, Matt Dillon. No, not that Matt Dillon, although that Matt Dillon is very sexy. No, Matt Dillon is a marshal of a town, and, yeah. On the radio, he was played by William Conrad, while on TV, he was played by James Arness. Two versions of the same pilot episode titled Mark Dillon Goes to Gouge Eye were produced with Rye Billsbury and Howard Clover playing Marshal Mark Dillon as the lead. Yeah, not yet played by, William Conrad. He auditioned William Conrad, and then they picked him, and then after, yada yada, stuff like that. Typically, I'd move on to the TV series, but there's a lot more to this than you think. Gunsmoke is often a somber program, particularly in its early years. Dunning writes that Dillon plays his hand and often lost. He arrived too late to prevent a lynching. He amputated a dying man's leg and lost the patient anyway. He saved a girl from... We can move on to the TV show now. So not long after the radio show began, talk began of adapting it into a TV show. Privately, MacDonald had a guarded interest in taking the show to TV, but publicly he declared, "Our show is perfect for radio." And he feared, as Dunning writes, Gunsmoke confined by a picture could not possibly be as authentic or attentive to detail. In the end, CBS simply took it away from MacDonald and began preparing it for a television version. Conrad and the others were given auditions, but they were a little more than token efforts, especially in Conrad's case due to his obesity. Man, it's kind of rude. But however, Meston was kept as the main writer. In the early years, most of the TV episodes were adapted from the radio scripts, often using identical scenes and dialogue. Dunning wrote the radio fans considered the TV show a sham, and its players imposters should surprise no one. That the TV show was not a sham is due to no small part to the continued strength of Meston's scripts. MacDonald and Meston continued the radio version of the show until 1961, making it one of the most enduring vintage radio dramas. Conrad directed 2 television episodes in 1963 and 1971, and McNear appeared on 6, playing characters other than Doc, including 3 times as storekeeper Howard Rudd. So the TV show, like I mentioned before, ran for a very extremely long time, running from 1955 all the way to 1975, with a total of 635 episodes, all on CBS. It's the second Western television series written for adults, premiering on September 10th, 1955, 4 days after the life and legend of Wyatt Earp. The first 12 seasons aired Saturdays at 10 p.m., and seasons 13 through 16 aired Mondays at 7:30 p.m., and the last 4 seasons aired Mondays at 8 p.m. During its second season in 1956, the program joined the list of top 10 television programs broadcast in the United States. I hope Circus Boy was up there. I really hope Circus Boy was up there somehow. It quickly moved to number 1 and stayed there until 1961, and it remained among the top 20 programs until 1964. Set in Dodge City, Kansas during the years following the American Civil War, the series follows the lives of U.S. Marshal Matt Dillon and the citizens he is sworn to protect. Among them are his deputies, Chester Good and later Festus Hagen, also town physician Galen Doc Adams, and saloon owner Miss Kitty Russell. Most episodes involve disruptions caused by those arriving from outside of Dodge City. Since Dillon's authority extends beyond town, some episodes focus on his travels, while other plots revolve around mishaps occurring while he's gone. Both deputies are shown to be loyal, but often inept or indecisive at handling problems when Matt Dillon's not around. And although Dillon and Miss Kitty are never portrayed in a romantic relationship, it is apparent that they care deeply for each other. Doc Adams is portrayed as a very competent and caring physician, but his conservative treatment methods often frustrate his patients who expect a quick recovery. Doc and both deputies are often used as comic relief over the course of the series. So when the show was adapted for television in 1955, contrary to a campaign to persuade the network wasn't interested in bringing either Conrad or his radio co-stars to the television medium. Like I said before, his weight was rumored to be a deciding factor. 3 people were considered for the role of Matt Dillon: Denver Powell, Raymond Burr, and Charles Warren. it was rumored for a very long time that they were gonna offer John Wayne the role, or that he was offered the role, but he was never considered for the role. And to have done so would have been preposterous, so yeah. I'm John Wayne on the first Thanksgiving. Sorry, Family Guy's in my head again. In the end, though, the primary roles were recasted, like I said before, with Arness as Marshal Matt Dillon on the recommendation of Wayne, who was also introduced in the pilot. 1975 was when CBS decided to cancel the show and not give them a 21st season without making any public announcement or informing the producers or the cast ahead of time. But we'll get into all of that later.
Gunsmoke.
From 1955 to 1961, Gunsmoke was a half-hour show. It was retitled Marshal Dillon in syndication. It then went to an hour-long format, and this series was retitled Gun Law in the UK. The Marshal Dillon syndicated reruns of half-hour episodes lasted from 1961 till 1964 on CBS, originally on Tuesday nights within its time in reruns.
Starring James Arness as Matt Dillon.
Like I already mentioned, there's 20 seasons, and they almost got a season 21, but they didn't, so yeah, let's just go to the syndication. So when the show was being syndicated, the entire 20-year run was separated into 3 packages by CBS Television Distribution. I don't know why I can't spell words. The first package was the 1955 to 1961 half-hour episodes. These episodes are sometimes seen in the original format and sometimes in the Marshal Dillon format. When first run, primetime episodes of Gunsmoke expanded to an hour in fall of 1961, and CBS TV reran the half-hour episodes as Marshal Dillon on the network on Tuesday nights from 1961 through 1964. These were later rerun syndication. The 1961 to 1966 1-hour black and white episodes have not been widely seen in regular syndication since the 80s, although selected episodes did air from the mid-1980s to the early 1990s, so my mom wasn't even born yet in the 1980s. She's 81. Anyways, no, she's not 81 years old, it's just she was born in 81, but anywho, they aired on the CBN cable and the Family Channel, and later on Encore Westerns on a 3-year contract that ended around 2006. Okay, so I was 3 years old. The final package is the 1966 to 1975 1-hour color episodes. The last 9 seasons of the show, the most widely syndicated episodes of the entire series run, are still aired on some local stations and nationally on TV Land and MeTV. Shoutouts to them. They've been great, except for when they air Monkeys episodes and they censor certain episodes. In 2006, as part of Gunsmoke's 50th anniversary on television, selected episodes were released on DVD in 3 different box sets. 12 episodes from 1955 to 1962 were selected for the Gunsmoke Volume 1 box set, and another 12 episodes from 1964 to 1975 were selected for the Gunsmoke Volume 2 box set. Both sets are also available as a combined single gift box set, and a third unique box set known as Gunsmoke The Director's Collection was also released with 10 selected episodes from certain seasons throughout the series' 12-year history. All these box sets are available on Region 1 DVD from Paramount Home Entertainment and CBS DVD. I don't want to dwell too much on the TV movies, we'd be here all day if I did, but just know that they made, 5. Was that 5 or was that 4? 1, 2. Yeah, 5. They made 5 of them. The first one was made in 1987. The second one was made in 1990. The third one was made in 1992. The fourth one was made in 1983. And the last one was made in 1994. Gunsmoke was television's #1 ranked show from 1957 to 1961. Then it expanded to 1 hour and slipped into decline. CBS planned to cancel the series after the 12th season in 1967, but widespread viewer reaction prevented its demise, including a mention in Congress and pressure by Babe Paley, the wife of CBS's longtime president William S. Paley. Gilligan's Island producer Sherwood Schwartz, hey, he had to sneak his way into this video somehow, states that Babe pressured her husband not to Babe. I'm just going to call her Babe for now. Babe pressured her husband not to cancel Gunsmoke in 1967, so the network cut Gilligan's Island instead. Alright then. Let me ask you a question. What's the longest running show in your opinion? You could say Law and Order, you could say Doctor Who, you could even say The Bill, which, never heard of that show, but it's a British police procedural television series. Anyways, the television series, Gunsmoke, was the longest running primetime live action television series at 20 seasons, until Law & Order SVU had the 21st season, and the original Law & Order, which was canceled in 2010 after tying Gunsmoke's longevity record for a live-action primetime television series, began its 21st season in February 2020. So yeah, both Law & Orders beat Gunsmoke by having 21st seasons. As of 2017, it had the highest number of scripted episodes for any U.S. primetime commercial and live-action television series. But on April 29th, 2018, The Simpsons surpassed the show for the most scripted episodes. Some foreign-made programs have been broadcasted in the U.S. and contend for the position as the longest-running primetime series. As of 2016, Gunsmoke was rated like 4th globally, after, of course, Doctor Who, Taggart, and The Bill. But Doctor Who, I argue, is long. And in terms of character longevity, or whatever the word is, James Arness and Milburn Stone portray their characters in Gunsmoke for 20 years, a feat later matched by Kelsey Grammer when he played Frasier in Cheers and Frasier. This was eventually surpassed by Mariska and Ice-T, who have portrayed Olivia and Finn Tutuola on Law & Order SVU for over 25 and 24 consecutive years to date, respectively. George Walsh, the announcer for Gunsmoke, began in 1952 on the radio series and continued until the television series was canceled in 1975. Believe it or not, but Gunsmoke ended its final season not with a bang, but with a whimper. Rather, the series fell into obscurity without hardly any fuss at all. The final episode aired, a strange standalone called The Sharecroppers, that felt more like your standard filler episode rather than the triumphant finale up to over 2 decades worth of television. When you consider that Gunsmoke was a radio drama even before that, it's clear that this long-running series had a lot more life to it than during its run, having outlasted most of the other Western shows at the time, like The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp, which premiered only 4 days prior. But unlike Wyatt Earp, Gunsmoke ran longer than any Western could dream, far outlasting even Bonanza, which ended in 1973. But Gunsmoke's impromptu finale, which premiered on March 31st, 1975, was a pretty underwhelming way to end the series, considering its impressive longevity. The Sharecroppers follows a young woman named Ave Marie Pugh, who fights hard to get her lazy family to plant their crops and make them a living, including their father, Dibble. Oh, he actually plays Victor French in Little House on the Prairie. But Deputy Festus Hagen accidentally shoots Ave Marie's brother. Okay. He feels compelled to help the Pews before they're run off their land by their landlord, Linder Hugh, and his son, Toby, Futuretron star Bruce Boxleiter. I was told to talk about Tron. It will happen, but there's some relational drama there, too, in between Ave Marie and Toby, and a weird moment where Ave Marie hits on Festus to make her beau jealous, but thankfully it doesn't go much further than that. Things turn out for the best in the end. Festus helps save the Pugh family's welfare, Ave Marie and Toby get married and plan to leave for California, and Dibble even gets up from under his tree, but the rest of the Gunsmoke leads have nothing to do at all. Marshall Dillon, Doc, and Newly O'Brien strangely only appear in a single scene, and for a show that was once titled Marshall Dillon, it feels a bit anticlimactic to choose a Festus-focused episode to end season 20, but it didn't seem like even the show itself knew it was ending. Stay tuned to exciting scenes from our next Gunsmoke, the announcer calls during the episode's credits. Only this time, there wouldn't be a next episode. So, why did Gunsmoke get canceled? What was the real reason why Gunsmoke got canceled? Well, it's very simple. The real reason why Gunsmoke ended the way it did was because the writers didn't want to give the Western series a proper ending, but rather because CBS had been trying to give Marshall Dillon and his friends the axe for years. But to make things even worse, according to David R. Greenland in his book The Gunsmoke Chronicles, A New History of Television's Greatest Western, the network canceled the series just as production was about to start on an upcoming, yet unrealized, season 21. No doubt, The Sharecroppers was a lousy note to end on, but season 20 still had some notable episodes, proving that Marshall Dillon still had some life left in him. Sadly, CBS didn't quite see it that way, and they didn't even have the decency to let the cast and crew know. CBS has done something Indians, bad guys, bad whiskey, not even CBS could do earlier. Kill off Marshall Matt Dillon. The Associated Press wrote back in April of 1975, as noted by Greenland in the Gunsmoke Chronicles, just weeks after the lackluster finale aired. A few years ago, CBS tried to remove the show, but was met by such audience protests that the network had to renew the series. Previously, Gilligan's Island was canceled just to keep Gunsmoke on the air because then CBS president William S. Paley and his wife were big fans of the Western drama. But this time around, there'd be no 11th hour save, and the cancellation stuck. Gunsmoke evaporated from the air without a sound. All of us were ready, psychologically, for one more season of Gunsmoke. Series star James Arness revealed only a few years later. CBS has let us downstream, and then we were down to the wire. Then they dropped the axe. Interestingly, The Sharecroppers wasn't the last episode the Gunsmoke produced. According to actor William Smith, the episode Hard Labor was the last episode filmed, which might have been a more fitting and well-rounded end to Marshall Dillon's television exploits. But alas, The Sharecroppers was chosen to round out season 20, which is honestly a pretty strange move in itself, regardless of it also being the de facto series finale, leaving Gunsmoke fans everywhere underwhelmed and confused. Now, even though it continued as movies, it wasn't, it's just not right. Also, holy shit, the guy who played Marshall Matt Dillon died in 2011 at 88 years old. That show's been going on for... I'm not even gonna get into that. Famed Western author Louis L'Amour once called Gunsmoke the best video westerns to date, due to its commitment to authenticity compared to some of its television counterparts. And while the show might not have gone out with a bang, Marshall Dillon did get his due in the end via the Gunsmoke Chronicles. Even if it took an extra decade to get there, Gunsmoke wouldn't let anyone, not even CBS, bury it without a fight. As far as long-running westerns go, there's a reason that Gunsmoke remains at the top. To this day, there isn't another western series that outlasted Marshall Dillon, and that's unlikely to ever change. Now, I know that I just brought up Gilligan's Island, and I just want to say, by the way, I bought all 3 seasons, because it's all the seasons they had, and I would like to point out that a Gilligan's Island video will be coming soon, but I've been thinking about saving it for a 700 subscriber special, considering Brady Bunch was saved for 600 subscribers. I'm thinking of doing Gilligan's Island for 700, so I recommend subscribing, because then you will get a Gilligan's Island video where I'll be talking about all 3, I'll be talking about the show, the cartoons, and the movie, and also there's a reality show based off of Gilligan's Island, and we will get into all that soon. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. Sorry it took a while to make this. I will see you all in, I'm gonna release the Christmas video immediately after this, and then I'm gonna talk about Evil Dead. We got an exciting update about Evil Dead.